Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
Welcome to PENDREAM TV, your number one trusted source for political updates and hard-hitting analysis in Ghana. Today, a veteran journalist, Kwesi Pratt, reacted strongly to former Chief Justice Sophia Torkornoo's shocking comments on the removal of CJ Torkornoo. Stay tuned because this one is explosive.
Pratt.
Well, I got Mr. Appiah Dankwa's review yesterday morning, and I read it immediately. It's about 3 or 4 pages. And the scholarship is remarkable. I've always known Lawyer Appiah Dankwa as a brilliant young man. But when I read his review yesterday, I could not believe what I was reading. His scholarship was excellent, you understand? And what can I do? I just want to thank him for bringing his insights and knowledge, into this effort to explain what reparation is and to encourage our people to engage in a struggle for restitution, a struggle for reset of the world in order to give justice to the African people and the people of the Caribbean. His review is a major contribution. As a matter of fact, there have been many other contributions. When I finished writing the book, I was thinking about who to write the foreword. And then it came to my attention that President John Dramani Mahama is the current AU champion for reparations. So I said, maybe he's the best person to write the foreword. But then I said to myself, there's a head of state. Is he going to find the time to read this book and thereafter find the time to write a foreword? But I said, let me give it a try. So I contacted the president and said, no problem, bring a copy of the book. In 2 weeks' time, I get a call from Mr. Callistus Mahama, Dr. Callistus Mahama. And he says the president has finished writing the foreword. I couldn't believe it. I get the foreword, and it's brilliant as Lawyer Appiah Dankwa's review. And maybe we should put out what the president wrote about the book. Brilliant, excellent. 3 pages of an intellectual and ideological discourse, which actually reviews who President Mahama is. I think his foreword to the book, paints him as somebody on the left of Ghanaian politics. His ideological inclinations come out very, very clearly, and I was so happy that the president found time to read the book, to write a review, and now he's actually finding time to also launch the book next Tuesday. Bless, a few things have happened which is shocking. When I started this work, I was just writing an essay, But as I wrote the essay, I came across more information, more analysis, and so on. And then from an essay, it turned into a book. So I didn't set out to write a book. Yes, now, this book was at the Media Review Summit of the AU. And I was there with a couple of copies. And I was surprised at the enthusiasm of the participants in the foreign ministers' meeting. Everybody wanted a copy. Then 2 days later, the heads of states met. And again, to my surprise, President Mahama asked if I had copies. I said yes, I had a few copies. And he personally distributed it to his colleague heads of states. Since then, the first 2 weeks after the Malabo AU meeting, we had 30,000 requests for the book. Amazing. I never dreamt that this would happen, but it has happened. I'm happy that this small, modest effort is reigniting this whole debate about reparations and pushing us to wage the struggle to its very end. I'm so happy. I'm so honored. I intended this to be a very modest effort, So, and I'd like to thank the other panelists for the very kind words they have said. I'd like to thank all the people who have worked on it. I mean, Abdul Haq Ibrahim, for example, was one of the researchers who worked on this book. Victoria Wilson from the Winneba Collective of the Socialist Movement of Ghana also worked very actively on it. There's so many of them. I mean, the design was done by Godwin, who is the designer of the Insight, and so many people have worked on this project. So the credit is not mine alone. There are 20, 30, 40 people who worked on this project and who were advised. Indeed, my friend, Shanti Singham, who is a Jamaica, was one of the first people to read the copy and to make comments about the first draft and so on. So all of these people deserve, they deserve my appreciation, you understand? Ultimately, it's the public, it's the people who read the book who make the final judgment. So we put it in and we wait to see the impact that it will make.
Thank you very much. But a reminder once again, next week, 4:30 p.m., next week, Tuesday specifically, the 9th day of September 2025, the Omanyaba Hall of the AMA Emporium, that is situated here in Accra, will be playing host to the launch of this book. And like I earlier stated, the special guest of honor is His Excellency, the President John Dramani Mahama. Chairman is Professor Akila Kwasoya, former member of the Council of State, and the book reviewer is Ambassador Cabral Blay. I'm here, and it's free. I mean, you don't pay anything to be a part of it. Just make sure that you are there early enough to secure a seat for yourself. You wanted to add something, Mr. Longden?
Remark about observation of what Comrade Kwesi said. He said he started it like he was just writing an essay, and then Comrade Kwesi, there's a lot you have to offer. Not your friends here. To offer. So, like you thought, you just something small you were doing. There's a lot you can do. A great deal. Because there's a great deal that you have that over the years people have seen and appreciated that you have. So, write more essays. Start writing more essays.
To culminate into more books.
More books, and the impact. Already you are making the impact. So please, I just want to encourage you to do that and make more impact for the benefit of all of us. Thank you.
Right. We'll get into our next topic for conversation. It's a very interesting one. CJ's removal, Sophia Akuffo's comments amount to breach of oath of secrecy as Council of State member. And this coming from Ansar Asari. He's the former director of the Ghana School of Law, and he has shared his 2 cents on the comments that former Chief Justice, who is also a member of the Council of State, Madam Sophia Akuffo, has made relative to the dismissal of the former Chief Justice, Madam Gertrude Araba Torkornoo. And he says, among other things, the member of Council of State noted that the allegations against Madam Torkornoo were not strong enough to warrant her removal from office. Sophia Akuffo further said that describing her hearing as a treason trial, my honest and candid view is that this has so weakened the institution of the judiciary. She did not get a fair trial, even though it is not a trial strictly speaking. It was handled as though it were a treason trial, Sophia Akuffo stated. However, reacting to these comments by Sophia Akuffo, Kweku Ansah explained that the former Chief Justice has breached the trust reposed in her as a member of the Council of State. He further noted that by subscribing to the oath of secrecy while being sworn in, Sophia Akuffo ought to have remained silent on the matter, describing the interview as inappropriate. All I can say is that our eminent and distinguished former Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana has nodded a little The public has reposed confidence in her. She subscribed to the oath of a member of Council of State and oath of secrecy. So her comments and the whole interview is inappropriate. Seeks to realize that she cannot say anything, and some of the things she said is just indirectly to her knowledge of what actually transpired at the Council of State and her appearance at the committee settings. And once she has subscribed to certain oath, she must always bear in mind that the oath is a sacred duty which must not be broken. And Sari stressed.
Mr. Pratt.
Well, first and foremost, I think it's important to recognize that this is the third time that Article 146 of the Constitution has been applied. It was applied in the case of the former head of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. And then it was also applied in the case of Madame Charlotte Osei, then Electoral Commissioner. So this is the third time. Now, there's some significant things. One, in the first two instances when it was applied, it was done as the Constitution itself prescribes. The sittings were in camera, the petitions were not published, proceedings of the committee, the special committee, did not find its way onto social media and on the front pages of the newspapers. And this is very significant. It is only in the Madam Torkornoo case that the petitions that were sent to the president have found space on social media and in the regular media. Something must explain that development, okay? It is also only in the Madam Torkornoo, Justice Torkornoo case, that the petition itself and the proceedings of the special committee have been subject to public discussion. Something must explain that. Now, for me, the other thing which I find most interesting is that the very actors who interpreted and used Article 146 in the first two cases are the very actors who are coming to us and saying that there is something wrong with the constitutional provision. So let us assume that they are right. How come that when they were the interpreters of the constitutional provision, they were the people acting to give meaning to the constitutional provision, they did not find that it was wrong or that there was something wrong with it? They wholeheartedly, judiciously interpreted Article 146 and implemented it without comment. How many years later, 10, 16 years later, they've come to us and said, oh, the very provision of the Constitution which we used in order to remove the head of Shraj and Madam Charlotte Osei must be defective. This raises many concerns, okay? Now, Justice Sophia Akuffo has spoken at least on 2 occasions publicly. Her first complaint was that, look, when she was going to give evidence before the committee, she thought she was going to give evidence in camera. And she did not expect that her evidence would be published. And she's asking the question, who leaked my evidence before the committee? That's very instructive. She's worried that her evidence has been leaked to the media. But who could have leaked that evidence? Obviously, that evidence was favorable to the case of the removed Chief Justice. That evidence was not furthering the case of the petitioner. So ask yourself, between the petitioner and the former Chief Justice, who could have leaked that evidence? Who had an interest in revealing that evidence? It's clear, you understand? It's so very clear who could have leaked that evidence. But you see, it doesn't end there. Madam Sophia Akuffo, and I agree, is a respectable member of the Ghanaian society. I mean, I haven't known her much at personal range. Everything I knew about her was through a mutual friend, Ricky Osei, the designer. I'm told that she was very close to Ricky Osei, and Ricky Osei happened to be a very close friend of mine. So I got some information, some knowledge about her and so on from my very good friend Ricky Osei, who happens to be the father of Reggie Rock's own. You understand? So that's how I got to know her. My first close encounter with her was when I was invited to deliver the Professor Mills Memorial Lectures, and she came, okay? So we arrived early, and myself, her, the former president, and 2 others, were put in a room. So we engaged in a conversation for about 30 minutes or thereabout. And in that short conversation, it struck me that she was a woman of integrity, okay? Her own activism after she had left the Supreme Court was a demonstration that this was a woman we should salute. Even if you disagree with her, I mean, her courage in stepping out into the public domain to engage in activism as a former Chief Justice was highly commendable. So this is how I've known her, you understand? But there are problems. Proceedings at the Council of State, to all intents and purposes, are confidential. So this woman, this lady, this highly respected lady sits in the Council of State and, for all we know, took part in decisions on this matter. She then leaves the Council of State and goes to the Committee of Inquiry to give evidence for the one whose conduct is being examined. It's messy. Very messy. Exceedingly messy. And how do you explain that? That a member of the Council of State, after the Council of State has contributed in referring a matter to a committee to investigate the conduct of the Chief Justice, leaves the Council of State, goes to this committee to give evidence. How then is she able to go back to the Council of State and work with her colleagues? It's so messy, it's unbelievable. Yeah? Then, after the decision has been taken, she comes back to the public and says that a certain threshold was not reached. Whose threshold? What legal instrument, what law established that threshold? We are not told. So it gets messy and messy and messy all the time. You understand? Now, one of the most important questions which has been raised is that when she was handling the Charlotte Osei case, did she then know that the constitutional provision, as in Article 146, was defective? And if she knew, why did she, on the basis of the provisions of Article 146, proceed to make decisions on Charlotte Osei? Okay? Now, beyond this, there's also something in the Constitution, especially Article 146, which we are not looking at. You see, this committee included 2 members of the Supreme Court, 2 Supreme Court judges. And to all intents and purposes, one would even can argue that in terms of number of years served and so on, Justice Pratt is senior to her. Okay, is senior to her. So to some extent, there's a measure of peer review. And in fact, it is important to make the point that throughout this process, the president at no time made any decision on his own. A petition was sent to him, he referred it to the Council of State for advice, which advice the Constitution does not allow him to disobey. So that decision was not his decision. That, to a very large extent, was an instruction from the Council of State which he had to follow. Now, if you read Article 146, I think 9, it's also clear that when the committee he has established makes a decision, he cannot vary the decision of the committee. So it was not President Mahama who decided that the Chief Justice should be removed. It is the committee who decided that the Chief Justice should be removed. President Mahama's role as president is only to implement the decision of the committee. So why blame him? Now, for me, the other significant thing is that on 7th January this year, the Chief Justice who has been removed is the person who administered the oath of office of President Mahama. What did that oath say? That oath said that he would defend, uphold and defend the Constitution of Ghana. Not parts of the Constitution of Ghana, including Article 146. The oath he took, the oath of office he took, did not empower him to come to conclusions as to which part of the Constitution is correct and which part of the Constitution is not correct and so on. He took an oath to defend the whole of the Constitution. And that oath was administered by Justice Torkornoo. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. The oath of office he took was administered by Justice Torkornoo. So it is strange that today, more or less, I mean, and Justice Torkornoo did not come as an individual, she came as an institution. She administered the oath as head of the judiciary. Okay. So the very institutions which administered this oath are saying that no, we were mistaken in administering the oath. And that in spite of the fact that you have taken an oath to defend the Constitution, there are some parts of the Constitution that we disagree with which must not be obeyed. What is this? I mean, I can't understand this. You know, it's so difficult to understand this. But then, hey, they are the judges. They are the people who went to law school. I didn't go to law school. For me, as an ordinary Ghanaian citizen who has never been Chief Justice before, who doesn't even know the law, who is considered to be a lay person and so on, I expect my president, whoever he is, to follow the law. That is what they call the rule of law. When we hear people talking about the rule of law, it just means that follow the law. Even if the law does not make sense. If the law does not make sense, there are processes for amendment. When the amendments have been effected, we have a new law, and then you have to follow it. But the law has not been amended. The law is the law. You understand? The law is the law. So what is happening? What's all this rigmarole and so on? Now, there's a substantial question which needs to be answered. You understand? And should be answered by all of us. Now that the respected former Chief Justice has acted in this way, can she be trusted with confidential material? I don't know. I'm just posing a question. The Council of State is where a lot of confidential material will go. Who can trust her with confidential material? Her colleagues, members of the Council of State, how are they supposed to act with regards to her? Is she going to go public with their decisions and so on? Is she going to criticize decisions that have been made and so on? It raises a whole lot of questions. Now, you see, for those who think that this matter was treated lightly, as something which can be, they should look at the facts that have been made available to us. One, this committee considered 10,000 pages of evidence. Can you imagine what that is? 10,000 pages of evidence was considered by this committee. The Chief Justice was represented by 4 lawyers, including a former Attorney General. The petitioner was also represented by 4 lawyers. This is the weight of the matter we are discussing. The Chief Justice called 12 witnesses, including experts. The petitioner called 13 witnesses, including experts. So this is the weight of the matter we are considering. 10,000 pages of evidence. I wish I could have that. And don't forget, the committee itself was composed by 2 Supreme Court judges, plus a former Auditor General, plus a soldier, a senior soldier, high-ranking soldier, and somebody else. And a lecturer from the University of Ghana. Is this a matter to be taken lightly? And so on. So look, I think we should move forward. If there are persons in our society who legitimately and rightly have concerns about Article 146, there's a constitutional review process currently ongoing. They should make their inputs. Let's do it properly. If we think that Chief Justices should be above certain provisions of our law, let's accept it. You understand? As far as I'm concerned, the law only makes sense if the principle of the equality of citizens is applied. The law makes no sense any longer if the principle of equality of citizens is sidestepped. Okay? So those who think that there's something wrong with Article 146 should tell us. Now, they are saying that there's executive interference in the affairs of the judiciary. Read the Constitution very closely. If you read the Constitution very closely, one of the principles which is upheld by the 1992 Constitution is the principle of separation of powers. Inherent in that principle is the notion that no authority is supreme. No authority is above the law. So the 3 arms of government act as checks on each other. So the judiciary is not that independent if you apply the principle of the separation of powers and so on. And the legislature is also not that independent. And that is why when Right Honorable Abem Bagwin made a decision about the members of parliament who were deemed to have vacated their position and so on, the matter went to the Supreme Court for a determination. You understand? Because otherwise, the legislature should have taken its own decision and should not have been subject to review by any other organ. So the principle of separation of powers gives the executive a role to play in the determination of some cases regarding the legislature and the judiciary. And the legislature also has some role to play in the determination of some cases regarding the executive and the judiciary. And the judiciary has roles to play in the determination of cases regarding the legislature and the executive. This is the principle of separation of powers. Finish.
Right. Thank you very much, Comrade Pratt. Several messages have come through. I'll try to read some more. Our time is almost up, by the way. If we can briefly touch on the last topic, the MPP. The Archives newspaper said 3 defeats in a row leave NPP in shambles. Appetite for re-election vamooses, but arrogant posturing continues. I'm sure this is in the wake of what happened in the Akuffo by-election. They were so very confident that they were going to win.
I beg you, I will make a very short remark.
Right.
There are so many internal problems in the New Patriotic Party. Mr. Kwame PENDREAM has spoken to the internal problems of the party. Even the Okwe report spoke about the internal problems of the party.
Right.
Everybody in the New Patriotic Party knows that if these internal problems are not resolved, the party could face an implosion. Already, we know that some people are threatening to form a party from within the New Patriotic Party. They are breaking away. Already, they've not been able to deal with the fallout of the exit of Mr. Alan Kojo Chamatin. And we do hear, they don't confirm, but we do hear that a new political party may emerge. That party had better concentrate its actions and thoughts on resolving the internal conflicts which can lead to an implosion. It can continue to play the ostrich, but it will be to its own detriment. There are serious problems needing resolution within the New Patriotic Party. That is the only way to save the party from collapse.
That was Kwesi Pratt's powerful reaction on Sophia Akuffo's statements on the controversial removal of Chief Justice Torkornoo, as people say. What's your take on this? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on the hottest political updates only here on PENDREAM TV. Thank you.
Dedi kama mamena PENDREAM TV ase. Na so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.